Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of Ecom Street Shorts. In this episode, we're straight to the point here. We interview Chad Ross, founder and CEO of Dorsal Bracelets, a 7-figure e-commerce company started back in 2018. I'm not going to say too much because we go in depth on this in the video. So make sure you stick around, get comfy, and enjoy this absolute pure value for the next 10 minutes or so. See you in the video. All right, guys, welcome to another video of Ecom Street Shorts. Today, I'm here with Chad Ross, who is founder and CEO of Dorsal Bracelets. Chad, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
100%, man. Chad's been building this brand for a while now. When was Dorsal started again? I forget.
Yeah, so I started Dorsal in July of 2018, so just over 2.5 years ago.
Right on. 2.5 years now, he's been building this exact same brand. And they're a lot different than your typical e-commerce brand because a lot of their profits well, not a lot of their profits, but some of their profits get donated to help change the world for the better. And so we're just going to dig deep into that and overall give the audience a really good understanding of brand mission, how to communicate that, and I guess the overall brand building.
Sweet. Let's do it.
100%. So I guess let's just start with the whole topic of how you came across the idea of Dorsal and like coming up with the whole brand mission.
Yeah, so oh God, long story short. So when I was in college, I actually started a clothing brand because I was studying biology, and I got pretty tired of just studying science all the time. And I've always been a pretty creative person. So I used the clothing company as my creative outlet and just something to do on the side as a hobby. Didn't really intend for it to be anything major, anything like that, but ended up after about 3 years selling that business and realizing that it wasn't going to be like a lifelong thing. So it wasn't really, what I was meant to do. And, but I did find my passion for e-commerce then. And that's when I started to think about, okay, what's my next brand? And I learned a lot from the clothing. Like, I hate dealing with sizes, so having to deal with extra small through 3XL is always a pain. You'll create a shirt that you think everyone would like and you order more larges, and then all the smalls sell out, so that was a big pain for me. The other thing was, I know people hate paying for shipping, so I wanted something super lightweight to be as cheap as possible of shipping. So those were two things that I took from the clothing brand that I was like, for my next brand, I want to not have to deal with those. And then I also mix it with my passions, which are being at the beach. I live about 5 minutes from the beach, so that's always been a big passion of mine. And then the other interesting thing that I always like to bring up is, do you remember the Live Strong bracelets, like those neon yellow rubber bracelets? They were pretty big, like when we were in, I don't know, or when I was in middle school. So,
yeah, it sounds familiar. Like, were they like a little bit like thicker?
They were thicker, and I think they were silicone, and it was by Lance Armstrong, and they were just like neon yellow. But I actually used to buy those and sell them to my friends because they were always sold out. And I always thought it was so cool how a bracelet could mean so much to someone, even if you saw them on the street wearing it. So like, I might not even know you, and we're walking down the street and I see you wearing a bracelet and I know what it means, even though I don't know you. So mixing all of that together with like my passion for the beach and my weird interest with bracelets meaning something more than just being an accessory on your wrist, and then taking what I learned from my past businesses, it kind of all was like the perfect blend of my next business, which turned out to be Dorsal Bracelets. And then kind of part two to your question about the mission was, even with the clothing brand, I wanted to give back to the ocean. So we did something similar where we donated, I believe it was 10% of profits to an organization, and we worked with a few different ones. But then we really wanted to show your impact with each purchase. And we kind of looked at the Tom's model where you buy X and it does Y, and it kind of just helps each customer understand it a little better. So for every purchase, we remove a pound of ocean plastic from the beaches and oceans around the world. And that's always been so cool to me, that it's like, oh, as a consumer, my little purchase makes this little impact. But when you have tons and tons of people doing really small impacts, it turns into a huge impact. So that's kind of where the idea originated, and how the mission got added to it. And it really was just kind of like the perfect storm that all happened at once.
Right on. And then you said 1 pound of waste per bracelet sold, right?
Per purchase. Yep.
Right.
So
per purchase.
so we've yep.
And so I think like 2 weeks ago, I think you may have sent an update like in like the Discord server about how much you've removed to date? What's the
Yeah.
rough estimate on
Yeah.
that?
So we just passed 113,000 pounds of ocean plastic.
Wow. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
fantastic.
So
That's amazing.
yeah, it was a really cool milestone for myself and our team, you know, because it's like that's a huge piece of the business is we're not just, you know, selling bracelets on the internet. We're like also making an impact in the world and also building this lifestyle and this community. It's so much more than just a bracelet. So that was a huge milestone for us.
100%. So I guess having this brand mission is one thing. Having this strong brand mission where you want to change the world and just give back, I guess having that is one thing. How did you find like the combination of combining that mission with communication through ads, through whatever email marketing and whatnot? How did you kind of like, I guess, get to that?
Yeah. Are you kind of asking like how does the mission fit and how do you kind of figure out what works for your brand?
Yeah, how did like you communicate it too, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty simple. We always try and keep everything super simple. We like to say that if a 12-year-old can't understand it, neither can anyone else. So we are always focusing on simplifying stuff. I think a lot of brands overcomplicate things. So the easiest message that we have found is one purchase equals 1 pound of plastic, and that's been our kind of our go-to line. That's just super simple, and all of our bracelets are ocean inspired bracelets. So we have a sea turtle bracelet and a shark bracelet and a hammerhead bracelet. So making it all mesh together it was pretty simple for us. And I see a lot of brands, you know, a pretty common thing right now is planting a tree for every purchase and things like that. And I think if you are trying to figure out what's a good give back for your brand, just make sure it makes sense. You know, don't sell something in the beauty space and then remove a pound of ocean plastic. It just doesn't fit, you know, like donate to a female organization that's helping women build body confidence or something like that, you know, like it just needs to make sense. And then your community, your audience, your followers will fall in love with it so much easier. And that's a big thing we've looked at.
100%. Yeah, I can kind of vouch for that too because I'm not sure the exact specs, but I know that Patagonia does something with the
Yep.
environment where like every kind of purchase helps the world in some way. And so I personally know people that buy from them just to have the brand image, just to have like a personal image that they care about the world, kind of
Totally.
like they're making
Yeah.
like purchases just to do that. So that goes a long way as well. Moving on to like the next question though.
Sure.
Was there a lot of hardships that you faced in these past 2.5 years? Like, was there ever a point where, you know, the business almost came close to failing, or was it always just kind of linear, or how did that kind of look for you guys?
Yeah, no, it's definitely not been linear at all. It's been like a roller coaster to say the least. I mean, we've seen so many extremes from like feeling like we're on top of the world to feeling like tomorrow is it, you know? And I think we still face that. We had our huge milestone just recently of 100,000 pounds removed, and then you know we've also been dealing with issues with Facebook recently because we fall in the social and political bucket. So we've been trying to figure all that out, and everyone's worried about iOS 14 and all of those kinds of things. So it's a never-ending ride of like trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and just making sure that you're able to be scrappy enough to deal with it as it comes, while not stopping you from getting your goals accomplished, your short-term and long-term goals. So, I mean, we've had I literally could probably give you a story about every area of our business where we've had like a big win and a big loss. But yeah, it's never a smooth ride.
Right. Yeah, and I can also vouch for that too. Like, I feel like if the company isn't constantly, yeah, I feel like every single successful entrepreneur out there has to have that little urge of like, not like paranoia, but just be a little bit paranoid, a little bit urgent at all times to ensure that you're always
Totally.
like progressing. I know a lot of people that have become successful in e-commerce, and then a year down the road from now, they get comfortable, they're sitting on their laurels, and then things start to decline. They wonder what happened. So that makes complete sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like a little bit of it comes with your motivation too. Like I'm so motivated to keep going every single day because I know again, we're not just selling some sort of bracelet on the internet, right? There's a meaning to it. There's an audience who cares about what we do. Every single thing we push out, like people are analyzing like to a crazy degree. And, we're also like helping the world in the process. So even when we're in these low moments, I know I'm doing something for a reason. And I think that's another big piece of the mission for me is like, no matter what, like if everything else was going bad, I know we've helped the earth in some way, shape, or form, which is important to me. So it's like, that's always something that's a fire under me that's pushing me to like stay motivated and like get through the hardships and like not quit. And I think that's kind of what really makes or breaks entrepreneurs is those people who can get through those low moments and not quit, because everyone's going to have hardships. So it's really who can handle them and who can't.
Right on. Yeah, I totally agree with that point where it's like you can start an e-commerce business and have it become successful. But if a part of you, ideally like a big part of you, doesn't have like personal connections with the brand mission, it might get harder down the line. Like sure, you can have that big lump sum up front of success, but it won't become like the next like biggest thing in the world unless
Totally.
you really have that burning desire. So that makes complete sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
I guess the last question here, because these are Ecom Street Shorts, so we're trying to keep it pretty much like under 10, 15 minutes. If you could have like
Cool.
1 or 2, 3 tips to the people watching about just building any kind of e-commerce brand, what would you say there?
So my first tip is just get started. I know like I've talked to so many people will either email me or like reach out and say like, hey, like I have this idea, and I'll meet with them, and we kind of like, you kind of build the skeleton of it, but like the meat and the skin isn't really there. And so many people just get to the idea and then they never do anything with it. And I think that's my first thing. And it sounds so cliche, but it's like, just do it, right? Like, if you don't get started, you won't know if it's going to work or not. And it's never going to be perfect on your first launch or anything like that. One of my favorite quotes is that if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your brand or your product or anything like that, you started too late. And I look back and I look at our first bracelet, and it is like the ugliest thing we've ever created. And I would be so embarrassed to even show you today. So it's like that to me signified that like we started and we got there, and here we are today. And I'm very proud of where we are today, but we still have a long way to go. So I think that's my first piece of advice. The second thing I think is a mission. Definitely make sure like you want to have a mission, right? Don't just do it because you think like, oh, because we're helping the ocean, more people are going to buy. That is not at all what we're going for. Like it fits well with us, and it's what our team is passionate about, and it's what our customers are passionate about. So it makes sense. I wouldn't say just add a mission on because you think it's going to like bring in all these sales or anything like that, because it does take some of your profit. Yeah. So that was kind of my second piece of advice, was just if you're looking to add a mission, which I'm a big supporter of, I think like all businesses in 10 years will probably be give back, because I'm a big believer in you can make a profit while also making a difference in the world. And I think most people like that, which also feeds into the idea that people buy stories rather than products. But I also want to kind of say it's like a double-edged sword. You want to make sure that it fits, and you want to make sure that you're passionate about it. Don't just add, oh, we remove ocean plastic, or oh, we plant a tree, or oh, we donate to the Humane Society just because. So think it through. Is the second thing that I wanted to add. But yeah, I think those are my two biggest pieces, especially since we're talking about mission-driven businesses.
Right. I can really, really sharply agree with like the first point you made, where it's like just start and just get to selling. Because a lot of people will pitch. I watch a lot of Shark Tank and whatnot, and a lot of people will pitch their business idea, and they've done all the right things in the back end. Like they have their patent, they have this and that, they have their trademarks, but they haven't actually sold a whole ton. And so it just makes everything so much more harder for, number one, of course, like the venture capitalist, but even just like the entrepreneur behind the business. Like,
sure.
I think that's the most important thing, marketing and getting started.
Totally. And if you can get started, then it's so much easier down the line. It's like so many people have ideas and they're like, oh, I think I need to raise like 20 grand to get it up and running. And Dorsal started with $217. So, it's like, I'm the perfect example of you don't need a ton of money to get started.
Love that. Well, all right. That pretty much concludes the call. I want to thank Chad once again, just for hopping on here, giving tons of insight.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap this video up right here. If you stuck around, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, guys, video is over. If you're still sticking around, thanks so much for watching. Just one more thing I want to mention. If you are an entrepreneur of any sort, you're a beginner, you're an expert, you're somewhere in the middle, and you want to be in a community that has a lot of like-minded people that are doing e-commerce, starting their own, software as a service companies, and everything in between there, feel free to join my Discord server. Each and every single day, people are coming in and joining my server and just interacting. You don't even have to talk too much. A lot of people just join and like to listen in on what we're talking about. Look at all the resources that I have in there. There's a lot of channels in there talking about things like investing and e-commerce and software. And of course, all my YouTube videos are in there, and I'm always in there giving you gold nuggets. So if you want to join, that link is below. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.